What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to yet another episode of the AFTERBUZZ TV After Show for American Gods. It's Sunday night. We're amped up, guys. We've got just a few episodes left to talk about. We're going to break down this one for you right now. Only 3 left in the season. We'll see you guys in just 1 second.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh yeah!
Oh yeah!
Wait, thank you
Got
for
the
tuning.
light show.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're tuning into the media. You're praising our god of media.
And they're viewing it through technology.
Yeah. So basically, I feel like the god of AfterBuzz is probably media.
Is Dave Child?
Oh, it's definitely me.
It's me.
definitely me.
And it cuts off.
Oh,
It'd be funny
yeah.
if, I would love to see media just turn into, like, an AfterBuzz blogger at one point. Just, talking out of a computer. That'd be great.
Seriously. Guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to AfterBuzz TV. We're talking American Gods, Season 1, Episode 5. It was titled, what, Lemon-Smelling...
The Lemon-Scented You.
Lemon-Scented You, that's what it's called.
Lemon-Scented You.
So we're more than halfway there, guys. We've only got 3 episodes left in Season 1 of this crazy, bizarre trip. You know what I was realizing is, because it's an hour of content every single week with no commercials, which I haven't watched a show that's an hour with no commercials in a while, I feel like, right?
Right.
I guess Game of Thrones is usually 51, 52, in that range. Sometimes they'll over an hour on the... But for some reason, this show feels like a solid hour every time.
Yes.
And I was thinking it's this first season, it's an 8-hour miniseries is what we're really watching. It doesn't break down to anything less than that. It's like they had to film 8 hours of premium cable content. And and I've heard Neil Gaiman now say that he wants 5 books, or he wants 5 seasons.
He wants 5 seasons, and he says that will cover the entire book.
Yeah. So 5 seasons. He's going to do 40 hours, a work week of American Gods.
And he actually said that what convinced him that that's possible was, this is the 5th episode, right? Was last week's episode, was the Laura Moon episode.
Yeah. Yep.
Where, because he saw that it can, I'm guessing, but he just said before it came out that the 4th episode was what convinced me you can do 5 seasons out of the book. And I'm guessing that's because it focused so much on one character,
right,
and really dived into who that character was.
It was important. I thought it was a really important episode last week.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We had a lot of fun talking about that one. So, guys, before we get fully into the episode, I should remind everybody there is a live chat. You can hang out and chat with each other. You can find each one of us on Twitter. Kari Lane, where can the folks find you?
Yes, what's up? Hey, how's it going? You can find me online at Kari D. Lane. That's Karidlane. And yes, we're live in the chat, and I love that you guys are already talking. And if you don't watch this live, comment down below, which you guys do already too, which is great.
Star Child, where can I find you?
Yeah, you can find me at mrdavechild or davechild.com. My name is Dave Child, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I saw a picture on social of you and I think your brother, right?
Yeah.
You posted you and your brother. It's a good looking duo. I like that.
We pretty much look the same, except he has a beard.
Yeah, I know, but I thought it was the way you guys were standing. You always make funny facial expressions and make me laugh when we're on shows together.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's 2 Dave Child. This is amazing.
Yeah. He looks like the evil version of me. So
child
if you want to see us in the mouth of the T-Rex from the Pee-wee movies, we visited those T-Rexes last week. That's why I wasn't here. I was visiting T-Rexes, going to Idlewild, hanging out with my brother. So.
Nice.
Excellent. You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter or Instagram, and every single Wednesday at 12:30 doing Action Movie Anatomy on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talked about the best action movies of all time. We just hit our 100th episode last week. 100 shows. Crazy
Congrats.
stuff. Thank you.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it was a big week. We did 5 days of content. We ranked every one of the 100 movies we'd ever done in reverse order.
I also have to say, before this, I do the Doctor Who after show, which was great. But it was so weird to talk about Doctor Who after I binge watched 2 episodes of this show.
Oh yeah.
To kind of go back into reality was very strange. This is the type of show that kind of takes over the rhythm of your brain as you're watching it, and you either sink into the vision and sink into that rhythm, and then you can't quite get out of it.
For sure, and I think that's worth talking about. Is that we're now 5 episodes deep, and we've only had 1 episode that really had that present day, for the most part, present day linear storytelling, where it was one character living mostly in reality, and it was flashbacks to real life with no gods and magic until sort of the last half of the episode.
Until it gets crazy. But you saw hints. We won't talk about last week's episode the entire time, but it is important to note, especially seeing last week's episode right into this week's episode, there are reoccurring creatures and animals that are links into the god world.
Definitely.
So you have the cats, you have the flies,
spiders,
and you have the spiders, and you have the ravens.
Yeah.
Which we saw continued into this episode.
Too.
And yes, the buffalo. But I don't think the buffalo was seen last week. But
not last week, but it's been in there more than once. Yeah.
So let's jump into the intro. We had the last week again was the first one where we hadn't had that like weird flashback Tale of the Gods type of intro. Now we did talk about the fact that that intro kind of had elements of it, but again we were right back to where we had started with the first 3 episodes. This one, Atsuli talking about Apudi, her daughter, and all of these, basically a section that, as you said before the show, illustrated that gods can die. And there was one very important quote there. The quote was, "Gods are great, but people are greater because the gods live on. The gods die and they live on in the people."
Right.
And that's, I think, was sort of the point, right, of that opening segment is that...
Yeah, I mean, the point of it was also beautiful animation, but it was also... You saw one tribe of people coming over the...
Bering Strait.
The Bering Strait, where a lot of the Native Americans kind of came from. They came over to Siberia and came over, and they brought with them the mammoth skull, which was their god. And you saw what happened to the tribe. In order to survive, it had to blend in with the tribe that's already there. And so they forget their god, and you see that gods can die. And the new god that's kind of makes a sacrifice right away, another sacrifice, kind of a reoccurring theme, is that Atsula had to sacrifice herself in order for the rest of her tribe to kind of join up with this tribe. Is to the buffalo god of some sort, which is a buffalo we've seen before. In a way, this seems it was very familiar to the buffalo in Shadows imagery, visions of having burning eyes and kind of this god buffalo.
That was in that first episode, right?
Yeah.
The Orchard of Bones, his recurring dream.
The Bone Orchard,
Yeah, the Bone Orchard.
Which we did see that technically when they came across. They saw all the bones at the edge of the forest. A lot of people in the chat are talking about how it was interesting to have the choice of animation versus live action. I thought it was probably just a choice to change things up. The show is constantly kind of like reinventing different ways to show the gods and how humans interact with them, and this was such a cool visual change for us. And we've seen other CGI as well with like Anubis and everything, so this was such a fun departure from that.
Yeah, and also I feel like it was, the reasoning behind it was they were talking about an era where the humans were close to the gods, which means they're unreal themselves. The humans were as unreal as the gods.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Which is a good way of a reason why I think they went to animation this episode and not in other episodes.
That was an excellent way to think of it.
And the god in the end is Nanyunini, right?
Yeah, but that's the god that dies.
That was the mammoth.
That's the mammoth.
That's the mammoth that dies. So it isn't introducing...
I don't think we get the name of the...
No, they not Nayunini.
The
of the mammoth, of the buffalo.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, we don't know who the buffalo god is yet, or even if it has like a distinctive character.
Yeah.
But I think this was just their way of introducing the idea that gods can die.
Yes.
And more about the origin of gods and where they come from.
But it's interesting too, because that their first god was okay with them, in a way, moving on to a new one, because it was like he loved his people as much as they loved him, and knew that for them to survive, it would be a big sacrifice.
Yeah, and I think I think it also showed that you can look at it as the only way for a god to be selfless is if they sacrifice themselves in the process. And what happens towards, just to skip ahead a little bit, what happens towards the end of this episode is Odin gets the chance to kind of give up and join up with another one and maybe let his tribe of people kind of be associated with the newer tribe. Yeah. And he doesn't do it. So this is how he survives and doesn't become the new Nani. Yeah. Because, so we start off with that choice and we end with that choice, which is, I think, a good way of actually framing this episode.
Yeah, there was a lot in this episode. I thought actually the animated design of some of the characters in the beginning reminded me a little bit of the White Walkers in Game of Thrones.
Right. It had that wooden textural feel.
And the nose, the big wide nose kind of, right?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was cool. I like that. I like the intro a lot. I'm beginning to think more and more about this show that in the same way we talked about this with Preacher, it feels like it's more of a binge show. Like it's going to be easier if you get yourself into that headspace where you're watching the whole thing.
It is, but it's also an intense show.
Yeah.
It'd be very dense to go through.
You think so?
As a binge watch. Like, maybe you could do, like, 2 or 3 at a time, and then you'd be like, okay, we need a break.
You don't think you would just get used to the tonality of it, though? Because, like,
I would sit through and watch it anyways, but, like, we did Westworld together, and that show was, like, very interesting. I watched it through one at a time, doing the show, but then I binge watched it, and I'm like, that's a completely different experience.
Yeah, because
Both
you also want to get to the next one. With Westworld, it's like, what is this mystery?
Yeah.
What is this mystery?
Yeah.
This doesn't have so much. It has a little bit of mystery, but it's more of the like mystique and fantasy of it. While it's it's an opera that you're watching. It was hard to kind of do 2 hours of it, even though last week's episode was a little lighter and more focused. It's kind of like binge watching Twin Peaks.
Interesting. It's dense, yeah.
Yeah, because Twin Peaks is like another tough one because it's so. It's kind of a downer, and it's kind of tonally different, and I don't think it's meant to really be binge watched.
See, I wonder where people are with this show, and we are going to get into each piece of the show today, but like I'm wondering now, because we're past the halfway point, what the general feeling on the show is. And the example that I used before when I was talking to you was just like, you hear a song on the radio, and you decide if you like the way the song sounds before you really know what it's about. Maybe you hear a line in the chorus, and then in your mind, the song feels like this, and it's about this one thing, because you understood the one line in the chorus. I think this show is so dense and there's so much going on. You could very easily watch this. You're looking on your phone with your girlfriend, whatever, and maybe you're not paying that close of attention. But there's a few scenes you really like, and you like the way the show feels. And is that enough to keep people going? I wonder if people are on board for 8 episodes.
I think we were talking about how important that chorus is, and I feel like the chorus of this show is new gods versus old gods.
Yeah, I agree.
So as soon as you get to the new gods versus old gods, it's like, okay, I kind of understand what's going on. It's mounting war between the two.
Because I think the tonality of it, the way the song sounds effectively in the example, is cool, is really cool. And I think if you're watching the show, you're probably really into that because it looks awesome and the characters are cool, right? Like there's a lot going on.
The music is intense and kind of flows through every scene.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So let's get into the actual breakdown of the full episode. We start out with Shadow meeting Laura Moon, actually getting to talk to her.
Yes.
I think probably my favorite thing about the scene was that it opens and he's like, why'd you cheat on me? Like, not like you're alive.
Yeah.
He just was like,
that's
uninterested.
not important.
Yeah.
I want to know the cheating thing. Yeah.
He's like, I'm not surprised at all that you're alive. Just tell me why him.
Yeah.
Tell me how it happened.
By this point, I'm seeing bloody hammers.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
okay.
having dreams about Buffalo.
So I did start reading the book a tiny bit, and I did want to point out, because she said it so many times, so she calls him puppy because they wanted to get a dog, they couldn't get a dog, and he says, I can be your puppy.
Got it.
That's where it came from.
But he is no longer
in the
puppy.
book.
But it's interesting how in this it's different. It's that she says, you're looking at me like a puppy, so I'm going to call you a puppy.
Both are great. It's just fun to read it because I think because this last episode was so much about his wife, and so it was nice to start reading it a little bit. And how they met is different too, which I do like how they did in the show. The book is different, but how she's represented is different as well. So it's kind of great to go on this ride with this new alternate. It's like an alternate choose your own adventure. It just changed it up a little bit.
Gotcha.
Laura, for some reason in my mind, is a little fuzzy from the book.
Okay.
Like, I don't quite remember her from the book.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to remind me of certain things. But one thing that I find interesting about their relationship is how they're bringing up the idea that he's called a puppy kind of because he follows her around like a puppy.
That works too, yeah.
Their relationship was built up not as kind of two equals, but as he works for Laura.
Yeah.
He's basically Laura's man.
Yep.
And currently it's an interesting foil to what's happening with Wednesday right now. Because currently Shadow is Wednesday's man and is following kind of blindly his lead. And now she's back, and now he's trying to choose between the two, and he's not really one to think on his own.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of learning about him. And maybe one of his paths that he's going to find is like discovering his self and making choices on his own. But I was wondering what you guys thought about last week, the idea of the coin, and also with seeing Shadow as this glowing kind of figure and being drawn towards him, and the way that she says that she now realizes how loves
much she loves him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys talk about this last week, about how, like, whether it's like a love potion thing or whether it's like something that it's an artificial love and isn't related to her real love?
Oh, I think what I said last week was that it felt like she believed in nothing in real life. She died, and it was only in death that she could see that there wasn't anything more, and that the one thing she could believe in was this love for him, and that's why it's so important. And that's effectively like what's brought her back to life, kind of in spirit.
Little bit.
I think you can also look at it as that seems to be the only thing that gives her life and is drawn to him. But you got to remember how she got the coin in the first place
Is from him.
is from Shadow Moon. So is it kind of a wish? Is it a wish that he made and now she is fulfilling? And how much of it is her own free will and how much is she stuck to this wish?
It's an interesting point.
That's a part of it. I don't know. I forget that from the book.
We kind of touched on it,
so
maybe
like,
a little, but...
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, the thing too that a lot of people who watched last week commented on the video of everybody's very torn about how to kind of feel about her because
Right.
initially it is
Yeah.
okay, well you're a cheating bitch and blah
You're the
blah.
worst, yeah.
But then we talked about how she saved him and is kind of like almost redeemed of like but that was
super
so
heroine.
epic and awesome.
Awesome.
And then this one
Kicking someone in the balls and then his
Yes.
skeleton flies
Foot
out.
not
That's
stopping
great.
until it reached their skull.
and her scene with Sweeney was so cool that I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a little more balanced out of like I don't hate her.
Well, I don't know.
You
The
know?
way that she was talking to Shadow, though, in the first place when he shows back up, it kind of made me hate her again.
Oh, yeah?
It's like, come on, you're talking to him like, you're like, come sit next to me, and in case you want to kiss me, and it's like, what do you, no, you like died with his best friend.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
She's used to controlling him.
Yes.
That was their relationship before, was he was her puppy. And now him saying I'm not your puppy anymore
Yeah.
is very important
big.
turn.
Yes, chat room definitely agreed if they were happy when he's like, no,
Yeah.
like turned her down. But what do you think of the part where in kissing him, it made her feel
heart.
alive and her heart beat and she felt something?
Yeah.
It's like,
Can he
oh
bring
wait,
her back
what
to
does this
life?
mean? Yeah,
Is he,
right?
Is he able to?
But that kind of makes him almost like a drug that now she
Yes.
has to
Does she need to get her
into.
fix? Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I just like how she's a fully developed character. From all last week and from
Yeah.
this, she was just, oh, my dead wife, who I'm doing all this for because I loved her,
Yeah.
and she cheated on me, and now we get to actually find this person, meet this person, and she's a living dead character that's
yeah.
like kind of walking in this world now. And I'm curious about the reason why Wednesday shows up at the door is because he hears the Ravens, talks to the Ravens.
Yeah.
And you get the sense that the Ravens told him
Exactly.
like, hey, she showed up, and he doesn't like it.
He's somehow, he needs to get him out of the room. He needs
Well, he
to
kept trying to get him out of the room, like, come on, let's get a drink, let's leave, come on. And Shadow's like,
get
"No."
a drink with me. I get 5
Yeah.
or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm curious about like, well, why can't you use her in this
Yeah.
war? She seems
Yeah.
very powerful. She just beat up a leprechaun.
Well, because maybe Shadow's more distracted then of like focused on her because
Exactly.
now he's her man, not Wednesday's
Yeah,
man.
I think that's a big part of it. A couple things
Yep.
I noticed in this scene. So one that I thought of, and I asked the question early in my notes, and I think by the end it's pretty clear. But is it actual nudity or is it a bodysuit?
I was kind of wondering that myself because we talked about it last episode.
Why does it matter?
Oh, I mean,
No, it doesn't matter. It's
doesn't. It's just
well,
very
the effects
curious.
are cool of
Yeah.
like the shoulder because that's going to constant.
Yeah.
Because they could have given her a regular T-shirt, but they gave her a tank top.
Well, yeah, because
To
she's
show
walking.
that.
She's walking around, and at first I was like, okay, that's definitely nudity, and she's got makeup on. Then I was like, wait, I guess there's so many
Well-
stitches. She could just be wearing some sort of a bodysuit. Like, I wonder, that'd be a crazy makeup process if it was.
Yeah.
I felt it was like a chest and shoulder piece.
Piece with like blending, maybe.
what I thought, too,
Well, we
yeah.
had talked about how last episode they very strategically didn't show her nudity, so
Yeah.
then I thought it was interesting on this one they show it, and then there is a lot of shots where she's at the mirror and it's right there.
Yeah.
It's just a cool use of camera angles and techniques because they show it when she's approaching him and like,
Yeah.
I'm a
I agree.
body.
I agree.
I think it's also because when she's in the previous episode, looking past the practical side
Yeah.
of it, in the previous episode she's more of a human. She is a human being, and they shoot her like you would shoot a human being during nude scenes for the most
Right.
part.
Well,
Right.
this show
Stuff.
doesn't seem to care.
But look who is
Little bit.
nude and who isn't nude.
Yeah, very true.
So when she becomes something otherworldly, she becomes kind of
Yes.
enters into the nude world, if anything, because she's seen as almost like a mythical figure from all these Renaissance paintings.
Well, does she care less as well? Because she says she doesn't feel, so she care less about
That's true.
being nude.
Yeah,
like,
it's
whatever.
kind of
She feels nothing. She cares about nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
So
at the
it's-
morgue, she's like walking around like, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
Not worried,
Yeah.
like, oh no, is someone going to come in?
Well,
No.
and then the other thought that I had, and this was another one. I thought this was like, another one of those nods this show keeps making to just like American culture. She's like, I need a cigarette, and he goes to a cigarette dispenser at a hotel.
Yes!
And I was like, I can't remember the last time I saw a cigarette dispensing machine anywhere. Like Los Angeles, you have to think like if they have them, they're in the like suburbs. Like LA is like not that kind of city.
Yeah, I definitely have seen them more in like the Midwest.
Yeah.
And East Coast even. Like,
I thought
see
that
them
was
in
interesting.
bars.
That's like the kind of thing. It's like another one of those nods to old a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
Totally random thing that I saw this, and I kind of wondered this. Quasi in the chat said, "Don't the ravens talk in the book?" I was expecting the raven to actually say something. I'm okay with either way. It's interesting with movies and shows if you have the animal actually talk. I think it might take us out of it in this show because Odin says enough of like, what? Like his reactions fill us in enough to go know what's going on,
You
and then
ate
that's
a whole
cool.
wheel of cheese. I'm not even mad. I'm just impressed.
Yeah, I think also you have the dichotomy of this show too, right? You have the people that are spiders and you have the people that are humans.
Yeah.
You see them as two separate things. So in one sense, we could hear a crow talk, and in the other one, we could hear a caw. So it could end up talking later.
It might
on.
later, yes.
So Shadow and Wednesday get arrested.
Yes.
And they end up in this jail, and they're being interrogated by these cops who have gotten a fax with perfect information from somebody.
Fax. I love that it was a fax.
An old fax machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole thing going on where the cop seems like very smart. The cop that's interviewing him, she seems very smart. And she's like, yeah, it's actually the message that we're more interested in. We don't really care about the bank robbery. We want to know where it came from. There's some big people involved here.
Right.
And then we get this whole crazy... we get, first off, we meet Mr. World, played by Crispin Glover.
Right. I feel like we do have to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
We have to, because we missed where Media talks to Technical Boy.
Yes.
So there is this
a good
scene
point.
where Media confronts Technical Boy as David Bowie, hence our opening thing.
Awesome.
And used all these Bowie references, too, in the way she was talking. It was really cool.
Almost every other line was
Yeah.
like a Bowie line from
Yeah.
like beating up the wrong man.
Transmission and Live Wire
Yeah,
and
it was-
Starman.
It was great. Though I have one thing that bothered me about this scene. But before I get to that, the one thing that's important about the scene is she says you have to apologize to Wednesday and Shadow, and says that the reason why is because they don't want him to become a martyr in this war, don't want him to like gain forces from all the other ones. And also they hit at something that I think is interesting, where I think in this scene she says all he needs is the belief and maybe of just one man. So maybe that's the reason why we're wondering why Shadow this whole time, and that could be a hint at maybe why Shadow, like this, just having a belief system like right next to him.
Interesting.
Kind of, in the whole thing.
Oh, that was the word we looked it up, and
Heuristic?
yeah, it was someone learning and coming to believe something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. And
Don't quote me. I looked it up, and that's how I kind of understood it. Yeah, no, that was I thought that as well, because especially when she said like the one, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be Shadow. Just
That
needs
could
to
be.
believe.
Powerful heuristic, I think
Yes.
is what he says.
And also the one thing that did bug me about the scene though is I really wish they could have made the music sound a bit more Bowie-like. It feels like all they did was kind of put the yeah like every now and then, and for me it was like it's not Bowie enough.
Yeah,
they
right.
needed to really, they kind of mixed it with techno because it's a conversation between Media and Technical Boy.
Yep.
But it was the one part where I feel like the music got a little distracting in this episode, and one of the times
okay.
that happened was this.
Go ahead.
Side note: someone asked in the chat, have we only seen 3 new gods now?
Yes.
Media, Technology, and Mr. World? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we have the tree thing.
And the
but
tree
I'm
thing.
assuming that's old.
Yeah, it
That
seems
does
Yeah.
not feel new.
Well,
Seems like
yeah,
an
I
old
think
guy.
we're gonna get to the tree thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But just doing our god count.
when Technical Boy was coming out of that like club or whatever, I'm not really sure what he was coming out of. It seemed like it was supposed to be a club,
Like a
or
party.
something. Did you guys
Club
get
thing.
like he's walking down those steps and it looked like a. I don't know. It just like what he was walking out of looked very specific. It didn't just look like more like the outside of a library or like a tomb or something.
Right.
It actually reminded me of honestly one of the dungeons in Zelda is what it reminded me of.
Yeah, it looked like a temple, and
Yeah.
I think the point is that it kind of looked like a temple.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's the same way that in last week's episode we see people gambling and in what looks like a temple because they were gambling in that Egyptian kind of
it looked like a tombs on either side or something.
So it's kind of showing what the new gods are kind of about. They're still in their temples.
Gotcha.
They're still temples.
So this whole conversation happens. He's not happy about it. So I think then we can jump back into this interrogation scene.
Right.
So first of all, media shows back up as yet another character. So we've never seen I Love Lucy, David Bowie, and Marilyn Monroe.
Yes. She's been just amazing. It's just so fun to watch.
I know.
And they major props to the effects, like makeup team on her.
Seriously.
And wardrobe, because it's just full transformation. And her herself, that she can be all those people, and it's believable. It's not like, oh, that doesn't quite look right. It all looks fabulous.
Pretty sick character too. Like, can you imagine reading that and they're just like, well, so by the 5th episode you're gonna Marilyn Monroe and Lucille Ball and David Bowie in perfect makeup and like just go full on, and you don't get like one line, you get a whole scene.
She even had David Bowie's pupils. Which
I noticed that too. It was amazing.
The like one wide pupil. It was so great.
It was awesome. She's great. So she shows up. Then we meet Crispin Glover playing Mr. World. And he was pretty cool. That effect on his face was really badass.
Yes.
When it morphs into shadow. That's the face you make when you masturbate. And your mother had 86 sexual partners.
Jeez,
Please, God, let me never have that happen to me. I do not want to know that.
So I gotta be honest. I think Mr. World is a little ambiguous about what he's the new god of.
Yeah.
Right? Like, did you guys get a sense of...
What, Mr. World's the god of?
Yeah.
I thought it was something, he said life. He said the book of life or something at one point. Because he said it's all stored here.
Everything is recorded.
Yeah,
I think is the important thing.
And being the god of the world seems a little too broad.
He also, and that's also an old god. It sounds like an old god, and we definitely know he's a new god.
Yeah.
Do we know that he's a new god? He feels like maybe he's an old god who's working with the new gods, because he seems to know a lot about Odin. He seems to know a lot about Mr. Wednesday.
The way he talks and the way he talks about marketing and money and how everything is part of the global market.
Yeah.
I think that's what I kind of forget what he's a god of from the books, but my guess is, this isn't a spoiler, but my guess is that he's the god of economy, of global economy.
Interesting.
But also, I think you can make an argument that he could be the god of information, because it seems like he knows everything.
Yeah.
He knows all of this, and what media and technology are really relying on information these days, especially with the internet, and he's kind of the god of information and how important it is to have information.
Globalization? Someone said that.
Globalization might be one.
Gustavo said, I thought Mr. World was like globalization.
Yeah, globalization is the term of a global economy.
Okay, then
and
there you go.
looking at the economy as a globe rather than nationalism, which is very, very precise. But it feels like he's, I don't know, it's either global economy and economy itself or information.
Apparently, don't Google it. It will spoil it.
Got it. Do we think, by the way, that he says, Mr. Wednesday says, someone you don't want to let see your face until you're ready to be seen? Is he specifically referring to Mr. World there, do you think? Or do you think he's fearing someone else?
I thought he was talking about Mr. World, but then lo and behold, he was right there. Like, for a second, when Mr. World walks in with his head dipped, I almost thought that he wouldn't look up until later. And they did, and it's like, oh. But Wednesday wasn't like, turn your face or move, so...
He also didn't seem that scared of him. He was able to just say no.
Yeah,
and I feel
he turned
like the
him
person
down.
He's scared of would be a bigger deal.
Well, but at the same time, that seems like it was a strange move. Like, that's why... if he said no, and if he had just like killed Odin then or something, or lashed out against them, he would still make him a martyr. So he's still playing it like he's a mafia don, giving him time to reconsider and do it. And it showed that he's not really scared of Wednesday. He's not really scared of what these old gods are doing.
Sure.
Yeah. You were saying?
I was like, wait, where'd it go? Someone said, TJ in the chat said Mr. World is the information god, but that kind of goes with globalization.
Yeah.
But expanding.
Right. I do have to. I love that it's Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
It's so good
fantastic.
to see him in this.
Yeah, I love Crispin Glover.
He's perfect casting. He's an oddball, and he's the sort of person that if he walks into the room and takes off a helmet, you're like, holy crap, it's Crispin Glover. Like, holy crap, they got...
He's got a very distinctive look.
Yeah, he has the... He had the pathos of, like, or he had the presence of walking to the room where he actually feels like he could be an adversary with Ian McShane.
Yeah, agreed.
But a
Yes.
newer adversary, a younger adversary, but still not too young.
Oh, his scolding of technology was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
It's like,
older than you
know
will
your
ever
place.
be.
Yeah, it was pretty sick.
And then the kiss smack from media
was awesome. The teeth get knocked out. I interviewed Glover at the premiere. And he was awesome. And because I'm a big fan of The River's Edge. Do you guys remember that movie?
Right, yeah.
Back in the
think
80s.
so.
He's awesome. He's super young in that movie. And I've always loved that it's like a cult classic with Keanu Reeves. And I was just like, I see you and I think The River's Edge. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. I'm proud of that movie. I'm very proud of that movie.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I always think of Willard. I love Willard.
Yeah, totally.
That's the one where he's best friends and
rats.
controls rats. It's so good.
Someone kind of asked, but good question. Daniel in the chat said, who killed the cops? So was that as media and technology came in?
Well, that's a good question because I think...
Or it's the chair. It's the tree.
That was after,
Well,
I thought. Because they
yeah.
were tied up in... I felt there was the one person in the ceiling with technology stuff.
Sure.
But that also ties in back to when technology is walking to media in the car or walking to the limo, the lights turned off, and how did media turn those off? And then the cop station.
I think every god's allowed some spooky god stuff.
Okay. Then the cop station, who do we think killed all the people? I felt it was media and technology as they came in.
Yeah, but it was weird that there's a tree all of a sudden and a tree growing out of people.
The tree was part of the chair that was
the
already
eye. You see the
there,
eye.
and that's
You
why
see
I felt that was an old god that had just happened to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's my question. I think I have an idea who it is, and I could talk about this in predictions.
Yeah.
Because it is kind of wrapped into what I know about the show and what I know about the book.
Sure.
But
Was it a nature god, maybe? Says
yeah,
Robert in the chat.
Yeah, we
That
can
seems
get into this
reasonable.
with predictions, but I
we'll hold on to it.
I know exactly who it is, but I forget if that god is in league with the new gods or is still to be recruited.
Gotcha.
That's what I kind of forget.
Also, with gods like that, there are the more pure nature ones that necessarily you couldn't have a discussion with them to be like, come to my side. They would be more doing their own thing.
Kind of like the buffalo that we've been seeing.
Yeah, I don't know if you could have a discussion and be like, hey, I'm doing this thing, you want to join me? Or is the buffalo, they're just going to do their own thing?
Buffalo is like
So,
kind of too old and too great
Exactly.
to do
Makes sense.
that. Truthful.
All right, so the scene ends. They get up, they get out. We see these the tree monster getting up and doing some crazy stuff.
And seems to be chasing after them. So it seems to be whatever the tree is seems to be an
It
attack.
came awake at the end, too. It hadn't done anything until they were already
But it
leaving.
seems like it was a little bit of an attack towards Wednesday and
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
think so, yeah.
But I don't think the tree killed the cops there because I don't think it would have stayed in that tree position. It became activated once Wednesday and Shadow were leaving.
True.
And then it was like, oh, and then grew all fast and went after them.
Yeah. So the last scene to talk about here is the scene in the hotel room between Mad Sweeney and Laura Moon, where she kicks his ass. It's awesome. I love that she's just like, what's she call him? She has a name for him. Ginger Minge. Yeah.
Ginger Mint, yeah.
Ginger Minge. Also, just before we get off the subject, Grimner, is that something that we...
Yeah, Grimner I think is just another term for Odin.
Okay.
So it's just we'll just hear a bunch of different terms for people.
Yeah.
Like one of the which reminds me of Ibis, which you guys might have talked about last week.
Yeah.
And how that god is the Genti and also Thoth, which is the god of writing and math and kind of storytelling, which is why he's also the narrator we've been hearing this entire time.
Right, that makes sense.
So that's just kind of a nod to that. But also he's an Egyptian god and is teamed up with Anubis quite a bit in the Egyptian.
Yes.
So which is why they have that funeral home.
Yes.
And so they have revived Laura Moon, and she's now sewn together in the hotel room.
Yeah.
Totally random funny thought with that. When she's soaking in the bathtub, I'm like, so is this like permanent paint that's not going to
Yeah, well, I was expecting that to run off.
Yeah, like, and I need to
like,
get a new paint job.
Because it kind of looked a little brown.
Yeah, right.
The water, so I actually thought it was rubbing off, and she's like, I want it to be warm.
I
but
wonder if she's going to disintegrate as the show goes on.
Well,
that's what Matt Sweeney seems to bring up.
Yeah,
makes
but
me
then
sad.
also at the funeral parlor, they're kind of like, well, you got to come back and get maintenance.
Yeah.
They kind of mention that.
But also,
so.
you can only hold up a dead body for so long, from my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they get into it, and he's just like, he gave you the wrong coin. Give me the coin. And she's just like, no, I'll just flick you across the room. There's no chance you're gonna get...
that was amazing.
Oh yeah, she
Get
just
him put his place.
wrecks him. He's got nothing. And then she pulls Glenn Close in Fatal Attraction, and she basically fakes her own death to get him put away.
Right.
I mean, it's not really what happens.
That
in Fatal
was
Attraction,
hilarious.
I love that just like, you're an asshole dead wife, you're an ass, and he's just like, you're not helping anything by repeating the term
Yes.
you're an asshole dead wife
And her
over
smile
and over and over
underwater.
again.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
You know what's dumb though about his argument when he's like, give me the coin back? Well, clearly how you're asking her, or demanding of her rather, is not working.
Yeah.
Maybe you could
Wow.
go, please, I need that back. It's
She's-
very important to me. Of course she's gonna keep saying no. He's like being a total asshole about it.
She does say I have to give it
Yes.
to you willingly, right? So she has to give it. She can't take it back.
So his tactic of asking for it needs to change up, of just like, give me my coin back. Well, clearly
Right.
that's not working, buddy. You need to change your tone there.
Matt Sweeney's a little dumb.
Yes,
I think
he's a little bit dense.
He's a little bit dense,
Yes.
and I think Laura Moon, the more we learned about her, is I think she's pretty
Yeah.
smart, and she kind of could put two and two together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the shot of the coin down her throat was
Yeah.
so great.
Yeah.
Cause and then everybody pointed out that that's the sun, too, in the chat.
Yes.
They commented, and we see it, and it glows, and that gives her life. And she's at least smart to know, this coin is the
Right.
special one.
It is
Yeah.
funny also that his luck is horrible now. Now that he no longer has his lucky coin. As
Well,
a
he got
leprechaun.
out of the cop car, so it's not totally...
Yeah,
but he did fall.
Sharding his nuts, though. Oh.
Yeah, he does seem to
Yeah.
constantly get hit in the nuts. And I'm like, I'm loving this. I'm loving the Mad Sweetie kind
Yeah.
of just
It's like
slapstick.
comic relief a little bit.
Yeah,
That's great.
I also love how so the name of this episode was Lemon Scented You.
Yep.
And I feel like that's great for two reasons. One, you have media saying, listen, pitches to Wednesday. We didn't talk about this really. Pitches to Wednesday that they're going to make a new missile named Odin. So he's going to be still remembered and known,
Yes.
and that'll keep him kind of fueled for another
And
couple
rainbows
of decades.
and unicorn.
Yeah, and kind of
One unicorn. But
putting this out, and so she's like, you'll be a new lemon scented you, so you'll team up with the new gods because of this. But at the same time, lemon scented you was appropriate for Laura, who I don't think probably smells very lemon
well,
scented.
even Odin goes, what is that smell?
Yeah, she's gonna smell horrific.
Instantly.
I know. I love
Yeah.
that Shadow didn't make any, just didn't even make note of the fact that she smelled horrible. Kissed her
No.
and everything.
Nah, if you love something, you don't care how it smells.
You don't
Even
care
if
what it
it's
smells.
Maybe he has a bad sense of smell, and then he'll be lucky.
Yeah, maybe. All right, guys. I think that pretty much wraps us up, right? Do we want to get into predictions?
I want to get a little bit into predictions because I want to talk who maybe that tree god was,
Yeah.
but I don't want to spoil people if they don't want to hear it.
And now,
See if there's anything else in the chat here.
So,
Enlighten us, child.
okay, I could be wrong here, but I do know that an upcoming god we're going to meet, and one that I kind of remember from the book, but it's been a while since I read the book, is
Sure.
Easter.
Okay.
Somebody asked that in the chat. So
Yeah, and I
great
think
for saying that.
Easter is a god of nature, and could possibly be who this tree is at least linked to. But I forget if Easter has teamed up with the new gods or is yet to be recruited.
Interesting.
So I think we're going to see Easter at least in the next couple of episodes, but we'll see. And I'm curious to see where we go with this. Also, in next episode, we see Matt Sweeney tell Laura that I think this was on the next week on, that he is that Shadow Moon is currently Odin's man and not yours.
Yeah.
So I think Laura is going to realize that Odin is probably a problem
for her.
Yes.
if she's going to be at all close to Shadow.
Also, something that happened in the episode that they seem to be hinting more and more towards is the fact that Shadow has these premonitions because he predicted she was going to die, and they all confirmed it when he has the conversation with her tonight about, I thought you were going to die, I figured it was the last time we were going to talk, and that seems to be something so he does have a great deal of power. There is there is something going on. There's
Yeah.
he absolutely is somebody. And oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that I got spoiled for us last week. That's the worst.
Oh,
In the chat.
Oh, we did.
Who
Someone
Shadow
told
Moon
us.
is?
Yeah.
Somebody spoiled the
Oh,
chat.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Let's not talk
Yeah,
about that
it's-
at all.
No, it's fine. But
I
someone in the
know
chat
because
was
I
like,
read the book.
and I had read it and I'm like, oh, I know. And then he's like, tell me what it is.
Yeah.
What was something else I was
Yeah,
gonna say?
and also, but it's also, we got to keep in mind we're going to learn more about
Yeah.
Shadow as it goes on. So
Oh,
that's
but
gonna
in a
come
way,
up.
he's like there we go. That's what I was gonna say. He's like an oracle because he has predictions and he communes with, like, he can communicate with gods.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
and
'Cause he's
also, yeah,
Not just like because it's the fact that he can see the future. It makes a difference between if he's just someone who can talk to gods.
right. So we're
Yeah.
going to meet Easter, I think, coming up soon. We're also we also have to see Belquist kind of meet up with these people because Belquist has no connection at all with them right now, and so does Anansi, and I really want Anansi to be seen more because I really like.
Well, that was the spider with
Spider that picks
the
the-
locks.
Yeah, but I want to see
Oh,
human
yeah.
Anansi.
You
I
want to see
wanna-
Orlando Jones?
You want to
Yeah.
see more? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Bilquist the god of what? The god of sex? Is that what she is?
It's a fertility god,
Fertility.
a love god. So
Yeah.
it's in with that kind of.
But there could be a separate like god of lust or something like that we could be at some point.
Yeah, but also there's several different gods of love and lust,
Yes.
and there's only the newer gods tend to be of newer items that we worship.
Got it.
So there doesn't tend to be. They're not like the endless, like in Sandman, where there's a desire, destiny, and death.
Death. I was gonna say I
And-
represent my death T-shirt.
Yeah, and dream, who are kind of exist
And
because
chaos. Isn't there chaos? There's one too that's more like.
the Deliria.
There we go. Delirium.
Delirium, and who exists because of those feelings and stuff. That's not quite the same world.
Anybody point out? Is there any significance to seeing the hotel name Starbright?
They did make sure to show that to us.
It was very like, "Whoop, here's the name.
I thought about that, but I didn't think it was super relevant.
I think maybe connection to Starman, like Media was talking about.
Sure.
Yeah.
But besides that, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
I also love the mortuary guy looking at pictures of ponies.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is he doing?
Unicorn. You mentioned the unicorn
Yes.
line, and then because he was looking at unicorns.
He was
I think
looking
he
at
was looking
ponies.
Just ponies?
But I
He
think
was looking at horses and ponies. Like it was just like someone looked up like horses and like that's the image. But then it was very specifically a unicorn with the animation. It was like almost Rainbow Bright's pony
Yeah.
kind of idea.
I know,
but
the
I
hilarious-
think he's the god of bronies. Is what it is.
The hilarious part
Nah.
about that is like in the
Oh,
stereotypical version
yeah.
of the horror movie, the guy's looking at like pornography or dead bodies, and he's like
Yeah.
the weird creep, and this guy's like looking at ponies.
Yeah. I
Well,
love
that could be weird and creepy too. But when he looked at the
Not that weird and creepy.
Well-
You could look at ponies and be fine.
Cool, chap.
when he
not a
walks
thing.
into the room where the bodies are, when he's staring at the thing, I'm just like, can you just like step to the side?
You're
Not
gonna
that you're
get
gonna
hit,
expect
yeah.
it, but my instinct would have been like, let's go to the side and come.
Yeah, poor
Yeah.
guy.
Seriously.
Felt bad. Oh, she kind of felt bad for a hot second. She's like, darn,
Yeah.
my bad.
All right.
All right, guys, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you same time, same place next week for episode 6. Only 3 left this season. If you guys want to follow along with any one of us in our personal social media lives, you can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter or Instagram. Where can the folks find you guys?
You can find me at mrdavechild or davechild.com.
Yes, and you can find me online at Kari Lane, KARIDLANE. And up next, I have Box Office Breakdown if you want to talk about what movies came out over the weekend.
Sweet.
On
Thanks,
Popcorn
guys.
Talk. Yes.
We'll see y'all soon. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.